is Jordana Salina, and I am from Montgomery County, Maryland. And today, the Let's Talk About It crew has the privilege of having their first episode, and it's going to be regarding religion and relationships. So before I go any further, I want everyone to introduce themselves. So, Janae?
Hi, everyone. My name is Janae Lagarde, and I'm from Rochester Hills, Michigan.
What's good, y'all? My name is Mason, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Terrell Arrington, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amber. I'm from Gwinnett, Georgia.
Hey, guys. My name is Bailey. I'm from Columbia, Maryland.
What's up, y'all? My name is Darius, and I'm from Chicago.
How's everybody doing? My name is Cole Pryor, and I'm from Bryant's-Roe, Maryland. Before we get started, the Let's Talk About It crew decided that it was very important that we acknowledge everything that's going on right now and that we just let everybody know who's out protesting and out in the community fighting for change that we stand with you and that you are heard, and our prayers go out to you. With that being said, we're just going to dive straight into the question, which is, should religion be a deal breaker in relationships?
Me personally, being a Christian or a Baptist Christian, I don't think my parents would care what religion until marriage comes in. I think for some people, it becomes a real thing or a bigger issue when you're thinking about getting as serious as bringing them into your family officially. So I feel like for me personally, I couldn't do outside of my religion just because there's so much commitments that comes with it that I feel like would matter in my future man or husband or whatever. So
I think that it depends on like what level of dating you consider yourself in. If you're just like in a casual phase, I don't think it really matters that much. You can like somebody without digging too deep into their religion. If you get to the dating phase, maybe it becomes a little bit more serious and you're like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying, you believe this, and that kind of goes against what I think, but you can still work it out. But for me personally, when it comes to marriage, I think that religion should they should line up, because you being my spouse and my partner in all of this, I kind of want to trust that you struggle the way that I struggle, or when things hit the fan, you pray to who I pray to, just, stuff like that.
I think that, like, for me, I'm a really open-minded person. And so, I don't know. I feel like in regards to religion in a relationship, it depends on how extreme the religion is, because I'm never going to judge anybody to who they pray to, who they are seeking help from in their most needed times. But one thing I will say is, if it's someone who's judging me based on what I believe, that's a problem. That wouldn't be able to go far. I also think that, I don't know, like, I don't want to ever question someone's belief unless it's just something like they're praying to the devil, then it's just, that's not even, we can't even go with that.
Kind of with Bailey on that, moving forward in relationships and religion, personally, I feel like, like Bailey said, whoever you pray to in your darkest time, whenever you need to be uplifted, if your goal is still my goal at the end of the day, that doesn't really affect me. I mean, as much as I would love for someone to, follow the same faith that I do, I mean, especially, in the later stages of life, if we're still teaching our children, if we're still, keeping good faith and, still giving back to the community and doing all the things that I believe that we should do as people in my own religion, and yours just happens to vary, I would never, put you apart. But that's just the way that I was raised. I kind of grew up open-minded in my church and also inside of my education. We can talk about people who went to different Christian schools like Mason. But my school was a public school. I've always grown up with people who were of different religions. So that's never been something that's divided me from anybody before.
Yeah.
Like you said, going to my school, I went to a Christian school, Cincinnati Christian. And at the school, to go to school, like, it was like of knowledge that you were a Christian. So it never came up. It wasn't never a question. Like nowadays in relationships, like, when do y'all believe that is like the time to ask that question? You know what I'm saying? Like, when is that? Because that's more like a personal question. Am I wrong? Like, so when is the time to ask that question?
That's a first date question.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I think if you're having
Yeah, I feel
casual
like that's
conversation
not
with
like a
someone.
first date thing.
Yeah, I feel like you don't have to ask. I feel like it just like comes up.
Yeah.
It knows itself.
If you
Yeah.
having
Like
conversations,
Bailey was saying, yeah.
if
Like
you're
if
having
someone just like
conversation,
thank God or they like thank the devil, like then you're like, wait a minute. So,
or if you're talking to
God.
this is another thing. Like, there's so many religions out there, and there's a lot of religion/cultures that, for one, like, men don't believe that women should do much. So if we're sitting there having a like just a dinner date, and we're like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm sitting here talking about oh yeah, I see myself doing X, Y, and Z. They're like, well, I saw my
I want you in
barefoot in the kitchen, pregnant, cooking dinner for one.
What?
Oh my gosh.
That is like a lot of people, like, especially in like some religions, they don't think that women should do much. Like, it's just that's not their
Unless I
calling.
was
That's not their
looking for my
calling.
husband, okay, but I have to look for my husband or be in the search in that process of like my relationship or man search or whatever, for me to be like, okay, so what's your religion? Because I need to know. This is important to me and my family. I think that's a conversation that I would have. I don't think I'm not gonna say you should do this or whatever, but personally, I would have that conversation. But like Bailey was saying, I think it comes naturally. I think it should be like a conversation of you trying to get to know that person. But it shouldn't be, you're out for drinks or whatever, and they're not interested in you like that. And so you're really just asking to ask.
I think I personally, like you say, like we said, like, oh, your first date, but like to get to that question, it's kind of awkward. I believe like we don't ask that question until like you sit in and they do something that goes against everything you like, you understand, you like, wait a minute.
It's no, wait a minute, that's boom.
Wait a minute.
Right. That's it.
You don't ask in the beginning, y'all, you know what I'm saying, wherever y'all at, y'all together, and she say something or he say something. And that's when it comes to the question, is it a deal breaker? Because she didn't ask it in the beginning. Now, like, they're like, nah, I don't believe in God, or I do believe in God, or vice versa. So what do you go with that?
Well, see, Mason, I think that, like I said, I feel like once you start to get serious with a person, that things should kind of align. Because if I'm about to get married to this woman, right? And I plan on having kids with this woman, do I want, what I'm saying, if we're having kids together, I would want them to be taught the same way. You know what I'm saying? I want us to teach our kids the same thing. And when they see what I do, they know, oh, okay, he does that because he follows and he believes in this. And when they see what you do, they know that you follow and see what I believe. And we got the same morals, and that's how they're raised. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when it gets more serious, I think that it definitely needs to like be a deal breaker, just because you know what you want out of a person, and you know what your faith pours into a person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I think that I don't know, you can kind of draw a parallel between friendships. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can see the same thing in friendships. Like,
that's what I was about to say. Yes.
You have to actually ask somebody who's your friend, like, hey, are you Christian, before that person is your friend. You form a relationship with someone before you establish that. Yeah. And then, in those deeper conversations, when you're diving into, their core and who that person really is, that's when someone starts to voice, well, these are the things that I believe. I mean, we're all, I believe, the same faith, but we all follow different,
just paths to that faith.
Different paths to that faith. But I would say in our relationships, my relationships with you and Mason especially, like, we don't necessarily agree with everything, but at the end of the day, I know that Mason and I know that you are always going to be pushing for something positive. So in our friendship, I would never let that stop me from being your best friend.
Right.
And that's another thing. I have a couple of friends who actually do not believe in God at all. And we've had open conversations about it, but I've never felt like that's been a driving factor within our friendship. Now, when it comes to relationships, I don't really know how I feel about that. I've never been put in that position. But regarding friendships, they don't believe in a higher power. It's more of a logical sense, but they've never questioned when I'm sitting there being like, oh my God, God just helped me out so much, or I just got to go pray right now. They're not sitting there like,
they respect.
yeah. So that's another thing. Like, I don't know, like, because I do, want my kids to go to church. So it's like, if that's someone who's as their father, like, I don't want it to be, so I don't know.
Like it will all be okay as long as you just like respect each other's boundaries. So like if there's something in your religion that women do, since your wife isn't a part of your religion, you can't really expect her to do it. So as long as you just respect boundaries, y'all should be fine.
I agree. Like I was saying earlier, with the friendships, relationships, in my opinion, your wife or your girlfriend should be your best friend. So building that foundation, I find out myself, at least when I'm trying to, get close with someone, I'm trying to build a friendship just as much as I'm trying to build, intimacy. And with that being said, somebody who's different than me, personally for me, has never been something that's deterred me away. You know what I'm saying? I've actually dated someone who was not of the same religion as me. And it, as long as you're able to learn from each other, I think it can be cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you get into something with a wife, I can understand where those conversations go from being cool and being interesting, where you're learning more about different cultures, to something that affects your family and the boundaries that you guys have. But like Darius said, as long as you guys can respect those boundaries and you can come to conclusions for your children and for just how you interact with other family members, then, I mean, whatever works for you is whatever works for you. We kind of always tend to group relationships and, we say, this is what you need to do. This is the formula. But at the end of the day, at least with boyfriends and girlfriends, everybody has their own story. You know what I'm saying?
And that kind of sparked
So
a question with me about, because you said children, Cole. And
Yeah.
from my understanding, Rel and Yordi aren't really with the different relationships. Like, that's a deal breaker for you guys. But for Cole and Bailey, y'all are more, intrigued, or you might want to do that for your partner. You might want to have a different relationship. So my question is basically, what would you guys do with your kids when it comes down to it? Like, would you go 1 week this religion?
Oh, that's a hard one.
well, I think you have to treat what your kids do just how you would treat anybody else. Because like I said, or how Cole was saying earlier, like with your friendships and stuff, if I meet a person and they don't have the same religion as me, or they are just like a more logical person, or they don't believe in a higher power, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna bash you. I'm not gonna treat you any differently. You know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna encourage you to, maybe change your faith and believe in what I believe in, because that's what I want to see for you. But I'm not gonna force an agenda on you or nothing like that. I mean, it's your choice at the end of the day. I can help you if you ever want it, but that's just what it is. It's like it's the same way as like saying if your kid's gonna be gay. If your kid's gay, are you gonna love them? Yeah, of course. So if your kid decides he wants to be a Muslim, are you gonna love them? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that even, and that's funny, that divides into like going back to the Christian school aspect. A lot of people would leave my school because they believe that they were being forced Christianity or being forced what they believe. And after like seeing all of that, I learned out of that point, I'm never going to force what I believe onto someone. They have the option and they have the choice to believe what they want to believe. And like you said, Terrell, you're going to love them regardless if I have a good relationship with you.
Yeah.
I learned that even in religion, even in the same religion, there is still different dominations, and like I know like some of us have relationships in different dominations. I know my parents, my father was raised Pentecostal, and my mom was raised non-denominational. And before my mother got married, my dad's mother didn't let her get married to my dad until she got baptized in my dad's church. And my mom was like, wait, I didn't know this was a big deal. I thought we were under the same religion as Christianity. I thought this wouldn't be a big deal. However, to her, it was my dad's mom, it was a really big deal. So like, how do y'all feel about that? Like now, is that like a big deal, even though it's still in the same religion, but different customs?
I feel like it would be a big deal if your mom like didn't want to do it. I feel like a part of her was just like, okay, same religion, it doesn't really matter. But if it was like two completely different religions and you like go get baptized, then I think that would cause issues.
Yeah, I think for me, if it's like something where it's a completely different religion, like that's disrespectful. Like I'm taking that as disrespect
Yeah.
because you're like questioning my beliefs. Now you're thinking I don't know. I just think things through, and I would just ultimately it would be disrespectful. And I don't know. Like I said earlier, I don't want to have beef with my mother-in-law, and I really don't want to take it there. But at the same time, if you know that I'm
If
about
you
to
want to
marry
go
your son,
there.
if you know I'm about to marry your son, why is I don't know.
I think it all boils
Talked
down
about
to,
longer before like y'all about to get married. I feel like that should have been talked about during like the dating phase, not like
Yeah.
about to get married. Like, come on.
I mean,
So
we all have these different stories with people, and I think that it really boils down to, especially in, you know, who you marry and who you choose to love. At the end of the day, you know, we have strict families. Some of us don't, some of us do. It's your love at the end of the day. Someone who loves you would never force you to, at least in our generation, I feel like someone who loves you should never force you to do something that's out of your comfort zone. You know, you should always challenge someone to be better, but you should never, you know, challenge what they believe in, or, you know, like Bailey said, disrespect them in any way. So, I mean, I think that's older traditions and older families and older members in our families have kind of put that role on us. I know for my family personally, my mother was Catholic, and that whole side of the family was Catholic. And with different things that, you know, happen in families, different situations that people get in, the church actually started to look down on my family. So they ended up all transitioning to being Baptists, where, you know, people are kind of more free thinking, more open minded. So I just really think it's all about, you know, how people conceive what's or perceive what's going on.
Another thing is, I feel like this, I would say like religion wouldn't be a deal breaker for me because there's good and bad people within any religion. Like,
Yeah,
and
for
the moral spectrum is like high to low and stuff like that. So I feel like there could be a bad person who's Christian and I'm like, oh, I'm only gonna date Christian or marry Christian. And you know, they could be the worst person ever. They could be robbing and stealing and, you know, doing dirt. And then I'm like, oh no, I don't want to date someone who's Muslim or, you know, a different religion because I'm just putting myself in this box, I guess. So I guess I wouldn't put myself in the box because there's good and bad people in any religion.
And I also feel like our generation is getting more and more open-minded. Like our grandparents, they've been raised in like real, I don't know about y'all, but my grandparents been raised in real strict, like religion-based families. So when it comes to our generation, yeah, I think we're very more open-minded to different things.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
before we get too far, y'all, I just want to take a moment. We got 5 people in the chat, so I just want to shout y'all out. Thank you for joining. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the conversation. Yeah, we're just gonna keep it moving from there.
With what Janae was saying, though, it's interesting that you say, you know, things are changing because a preacher that me and Rel had met one time, I don't know what state we were in. We were probably in Baltimore, I believe. He said that the church transitions and, you know, what kind of dictates our faith every 200 years, he said. It was something like that. Where, you know, the way that we pray or the things that we believe in, the traditions that we uphold kind of shift, and there's a different, you know, type of voice that the church has. You can really see, you know, during our grandparents' days, the church was a place of safe haven. It was a place where people got messages not only from God, but just how to be better in their communities. It was more of a place where the community pulled together, where for us, we kind of go to church for ourselves and to feed our own souls, which is why I feel like sometimes, at least in my own faith, you know, there are a lot more open conversations that me and my family have after leaving church because we all take in the message separately. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to do with, you know, what's going on in the Bible, but what's going on outside in our world. How can we relate that to the Bible? And what lessons can we learn from that? And the conversations that we have in the car sometimes are more beautiful than, I would say, the message that we got in church.
So with let's say for instance you do find yourself attracted to somebody of a different religion, do you think that some of the things that they participate in because of their faith, do you think that they can cause complications? Because if I'm, as a Christian, of course we're not supposed to eat pork, we're not supposed to eat seafood, but because my sins are forgiven, I might be able to take a little bite of a rib every now and then. You know what I'm saying? but as a Muslim, if they see a rib, it's that's a filthy animal. But if you come in one day and I'm just sitting there eating in front of you ribs, are you gonna take it like to the heart or like?
No, I think it can definitely cause complications, especially like with having kids, for instance, because let's just say I fell in love with someone who didn't like Halloween. That's something I did every year as a child. It's something me and my siblings did every year as a child. And I actually had a lot of friends who didn't do it. And like, we couldn't go trick-or-treating together. And like, as a child, I never really understood why. Like, I think they tried to explain it to me, but like, obviously as a child, I love candy. I wasn't really like taking it in that deep. But for me, that's something I want my kids to experience. I want them to be able to dress up and have that childhood experience. We're going, I lived in a great community, so I saw all my neighbors and they were passing out candy. But I mean, a lot of my friends couldn't experience that. And if my husband was like, no, our kids are not doing that, like, I don't even know how I would like have that argument, because I understand where he's coming from, but you got to understand where I'm coming from. So
I think that's definitely is different thinkings or whatever, or how certain things are okayed by like parents. Like for me, I kind of, it was okay. I guess when I was younger, it was okay to go trick-or-treating, dress up, da-da-da. As I grew up and kind of, I guess, got more in tune with my faith and like just what I thought of Halloween based off of me as a grown up thinking of it, then I started to feel like, okay, like maybe this isn't something that I want to associate myself with. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that everybody does have their own reasoning for certain things, and everybody has their own, doings for certain things. So that's definitely something I would consider for my kids, just because, you grow up and you learn, but I don't want to take away their learning experience because I want it to be my way all the time. So
it was the opposite for me. Like, my mom would not let me go trick-or-treating at all. No costumes, no nothing. Like, all the kids would be outside getting candy. I'd be like, I just be just sitting looking, and I feel so bad. So now that I'm older, I'm like, dang, I'm trying to experience the trick-or-treating and everything.
Yeah.
But
like, y'all at the church?
That's what I was going to ask. I didn't do trunk or treat.
I went to trunk or treat. I was at all the treats.
Yeah, I was at every.
I hit up every neighborhood as a kid. And then I'd bring candy to my friends who couldn't make it at school because I'd have the candy.
I didn't even think anything bad of it. I was just thinking it's the day to get some free candy.
Yeah, I was just enjoying it as a kid.
I wasn't
never
thinking
put a deep meaning behind the holiday
I
at all.
Even like the haunted houses. As much as it's like a movie. It's like
haunted houses.
The haunted houses.
It's just fun. It's scaring me. It's for the kids. Ooh, it's scary. I never as a kid, even though I went to a Christian school, looked at it as like bad. I was like, okay,
worshiping the devil or something.
But it was like a holiday, right?
But that's the real conversation is how do we deal with religions and holidays? Being
that's the thing, because like just like Terrell was saying, like talking about meat, I love red meat. I will always eat bacon. Don't play with me. Like, I don't want you coming up in my house.
Look away when I eat this.
All right.
Because I want to. Like, I'm not about to sacrifice that. And if you love me, you'll understand that. But I will never make you bacon. Okay?
Right.
You don't
That's actually a good, thing, because that's something I face within my relationship right now, because my partner is a 7-day Adventist, and he practices things such as like going to church on Saturdays and not eating seafood.
Yes, I had a friend who did that too.
Food. So I'm just like,
no obey.
Yeah.
They said no obey. I'm weak. But what about this one? What about Christmas? What if your partner is like, No,
See,
they don't get
that's
no.
what we gotta talk because
But Christmas is just like too big
But
for
that's
y'all to just be
it's
like,
a big
no.
tradition. However,
That's when we get to the deal breaker.
It's like
Yeah,
eight,
that,
eight different Christmas. You got Hanukkah, you got Kwanzaa. You'll celebrate Christmas somehow, some way.
Would
I
you?
they
think
just know
it's
how to
like-
stay in the room.
If they would celebrate your Christmas, would you celebrate their holiday?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I'm not
Yeah, but
trying
a
to put
lot of
myself
times
in a.
they just do both. Like a lot of when that's
Yeah.
the problem, they'll just do both.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're on the same day.
I
But,
think
like,
the real
how
issue
extreme
comes
is their
when they
holidays?
disrespect it.
But how extreme is your holiday? You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like,
But no, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I would have to talk about because if you have me doing something that I feel I'm looking crazy and is also disrespecting my religion, then I don't. But also, like, if it's Christmas and it's genuinely like you don't believe in it and it's disrespecting it, I wouldn't force you. I mean, I'm gonna miss you at Christmas dinner because like the whole family gonna be there, but like I'm not.
They'll be asking where your husband is.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no.
He'll never come. Every year.
Every year.
I just
I mean,
think
you don't gotta wake up on Christmas morning and open the presents, but you can buy me one. Like,
You like no.
And that's on who?
Would you
But like
celebrate-
you do have to realize when you're bringing somebody to your home as like to meet your family or the people that you feel so closely, close to, you have to worry about what they think of them. Not
Yeah.
just how they look, how they act, but also what are they bringing to the table? Like religion is one of the questions that they're gonna ask. And so you're gonna have to deal with not only your emotions and pleasing them or whatever you're trying to do there. You also have to worry about the different families because you're bringing two dynamics together. So I think that's when it gets
I feel
complicated.
like someone's like extremely into their religion. Honestly, I don't even feel like y'all would meet in like the first place. So like, say if like someone's like deep into their religion, would y'all even meet for real?
Right.
So say like if it was someone who doesn't believe like women should be covered head to toe, would he even speak to you if he saw you like you
I
weren't
don't know.
covered head
If he's
to
trying
toe?
to convert me, he got another thing coming because like,
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't
Daily.
change my whole appearance for somebody. I don't know if I could do that. But if you
I'm
expect
sorry.
me, like to let me wear what I want, but when I get around the family, then I have to probably change. I wouldn't care about that. Yeah.
Well, just know the families for the rest of your life. You're gonna have to see them every time.
They might catch you. They gonna catch you slipping.
Yeah.
Right. So
So
like
they
the
can do. Would you meet them? But you
Janae.
might meet them. You might be traveling.
They gonna see you outside.
Right.
Where's your rap? Go cover yourself.
no, but
Somebody like
You
that.
got all.
I just think that
Where's your rap?
for something like that, you just have to think about how it would make you feel, personally. Not everybody agrees that you should be in a relationship with someone who's of a different religion, friendship, or significant other. So if you're going to take that stance and you're going to make that position, you're going to try and make things work. You have to be able to understand and be empathetic to not only how you feel about your holidays and your traditions, but how they would feel about their own. So, like we were saying earlier, it's all about a give and take, and
Depends on the person.
it depends person to person. There are people who just you won't connect with because of that being an outlier. But if you're willing to make that work, then you have to try and make it work in every way of the way.
How much will you sacrifice? How much?
yeah.
That's a big
How
question.
much will you sacrifice? And that's a hard.
Nah, how much are you willing to sacrifice? That's the real
There
question.
we go.
Yeah.
I just feel like if both parties are very content with what they, believe in or in their religion, I feel like it's something that you both won't change. So there's no like you won't meet in the middle because your religion is two different things.
Mhm.
So you have to decide where you're gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody has their own rules and their own ways of going about it. But like Yordi was saying, I don't think that there will be any sacrifice. I think, your spouse will follow the faith that they follow and you'll follow your own. And
But
you guys can work
As
out.
we saw, that can't work.
Like, why wait till things get serious for
Yeah.
them? It is a deal breaker.
But
like,
that's what I'm saying. I think it will reveal itself before
Yeah,
then.
I agree with
Really?
that.
I don't know. Well, I know when y'all was talking about like a couple minutes ago, y'all were talking about how you're not really supposed to convert or you wouldn't force anybody to convert. But I know me personally, my dad was a Muslim when he met my mom, and my mom was just straight up Christian, and I just don't see my mom talking to my dad if he's Muslim. I just don't see that happening. Like in real life.
Like we said in the beginning of our conversation, okay, if they it's okay because if they believe this, but then we start to get into things, the normacy of life. And then we're like, wait, we can't do this. Wait, we can't do that. Mm-hmm. It's really, now let's come back to the question again. Now that we know these things, now think about it. Now look at it. Is this something that we need to look at in the beginning when we dating, when we talking? Is this something?
I said it's going to reveal itself. I feel like it's going to reveal
I can't live without you. And then all of a sudden, I got to change half my life. And I'm like, oh.
That could change everything.
That could be discussed in the beginning.
I feel like it can be discussed in the beginning, or it's just going to come out on its own.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily needs to be something where you're on the first date eating. How's the weather? Oh, it's
well,
great.
like, here's another thing. It could be simple things, too. Like, for instance, sex before marriage. What if y'all are engaged for 5 years? And that's their religion, but that's not what you believe.
Different conversation.
No, it's the same conversation, because that's literally some people, like, they're not going to, they just... That's a lot of people. They're not going to just stray away from that. And then there's a lot of people who are like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
And when it comes to religion, a lot of people feel like if you're trying to pressure somebody to do that, like it's disrespectful, like I said before. And so everything can be perfect, but that one thing. And a lot of people are together for a long time.
I think that, like, in the beginning stages, like Mason was saying, and like Cole was saying, don't do it in like the first date or anything. But as y'all talk and as y'all get to know each other, you guys need to meet a common ground. Like, and if it's too wild, if the religion's too wild, break up. Just break up with them, or go your separate ways. If you really are in love with them and want to be with this person, then y'all need to find a common ground and set some rules. Like, okay, I'll go to church with you this time, and we'll try this church that time, and come to a compromise with one another to see what you guys like.
Yes, people just
And when you were, sorry.
Yeah, Janae, what did you say?
No, nothing. I was just saying, like, you don't have to be rude about anything. Like, if we are in love, just, teach me, help me out. I'll go to church, like Amber said, I'll go to church with you this day. It's like a learning opportunity.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Most people grow up with the religions from their family. So when you marry someone, you fall in love, and you, like Cole was saying, you start to learn, it starts to intrigue you. You never know where that can take you. It can literally take you into another religion that you never thought to look at just because you were always within the religion that your family was in. Or you never really got to look outside of that religion because you just always thought that those were your beliefs, but you never looked at other beliefs. And I think that's perfectly okay. I don't think that, that to me.
Personally, to me, like Mason said, his mother had to get baptized, but does that make you feel some type of way, Mason, that your mom is now baptized? You know what I'm saying? Like, we kind of tend to look back and be like, oh my God, that's so crazy that this happened. But especially within your own faith, it's like, what transitions are acceptable for you and what can work for you. You don't always have to transition into a different religion, but in some instances, it might be better for you. It was better for my family to find a different church home, a place where they felt more accepted.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's for the better, and it's all in God's plan, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely different for every individual, all completely, because I think that's a personal conversation you need to have with the person, because any commitment of that sort is a commitment that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. So that's a conversation that you both have to agree on, that you're on one with, because if there's any hole in that conversation, then you're going to have a hole for the rest of your life. And your family's involved. So that just makes it way worse. So, yeah.
I agree, but I think sometimes when you have conversations, you never know what can happen in the future. And like certain things that happen to people throughout, I don't know, like you see some people, like things happen in their life. and they start to question God. And some people aren't okay with that at all. They're like, why would you? So it's like you can have certain conversations, but you just never know what's going to happen in the future. And what you said before might not apply to what you're saying now. And certain things may have not came up because you never thought to say it, or it just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't come up.
Would any of you guys convert to a different religion if you guys love?
No,
Can't do it.
I can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, y'all can't say no because you just never know until you're in that situation.
That's what I was
personally
probably gonna
right
say.
now. I don't know about the future, but right now,
I think that if it was a sector under my religion, because there's a lot of different sectors under Christianity, I'm not gonna rule that out.
I have a question. So if your family was completely against the person and you were in love with them, would you
have that conversation
say Would you go, follow your heart and follow the person that you're in love with, or would you have to reject it because your family doesn't agree?
That's hard, Yordi.
That is
I know
so
it's hard.
Naturally, I think naturally you're gonna wanna try to give the person a chance, but it's just gonna make things so difficult if your family don't like them.
I don't want that bad blood with my family. Like, dang.
I would have a problem if I was dating that person and my parents were like, this is fine. And then we got engaged and they were like, this is a problem. Because I would be like, why wouldn't you tell me this is a problem from the jump? Yeah. Like, we've been together. And because sometimes people don't think you're going to stay together, but like, that's something you need to say from the start of when I introduced you to them. Why wouldn't you tell me, like, this isn't the person? Because I could have questioned that from the jump.
Yeah.
I think it would come down to what is their reasoning for not liking them.
Yeah.
So like if they just don't like them, just not to like them, then you like.
I really feel like that. I don't know, personally with my family and the way that we operate, it's just a lot of open love. There's not really I couldn't see that being an issue. Especially with your faith. I mean, obviously my parents might not agree, but something that my dad and my mom have always told me is like, you should love everyone. And just because someone's different than you doesn't mean that they don't deserve your love.
Yeah. And what Amber was saying, Amber, you were like, oh, you're not going to just discredit somebody for like their religion and stuff. Like, I feel like Nicole said, my parents wouldn't do that to me. Like, you're supposed to love anybody. If they're a good person, even though they're another religion, I don't think it should matter. As long as they're good and treating you right, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Based on the content of one's character that my family would operate. Like I said earlier, I couldn't really imagine a time, especially with the things that my family has gone through as a whole, I couldn't imagine not having their support in anything that I'm doing in my life, as long as it's not against,
Yeah.
And I feel like you should know your parents enough before you even date someone out of your religion. Like, okay, my parents like this. So like you
even out of your nature.
I mean, and that goes beyond even my parents. That's just speaking for my entire family personally.
They have a conversation with your family, like, explain to them that,
like, I really like this person.
Go with love, just explain to them, this is what makes me happy and this is what I want to do. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. I think the issue starts there. If you don't know what your peoples believe in, then how can you tell her or him what you like how's everything gonna be when we together, when we start, because y'all both get blindsided. Y'all be like, oh, I thought everything was cool, but then one day now it's not, like Bailey said. Now why I can't be with this person. So it's one of them things. It's one of them things.
Communication gotta happen.
Communication has to happen early.
But all that being said, how does everybody think that they will operate, after this conversation and being in a relationship with someone of a different religion? Do you think that you could do it? Do you think you couldn't? How do you feel?
I feel like I could do it.
I don't think I'd be able to know unless it happened.
I could do it. I think the only thing that might cause an issue is just I am very independent and outspoken. So if it's anything that's going to, like, if anything that's trying to silence me, it's not going to work. If anything is going to try and hold me back, who I am as
just don't want somebody
to work. But as long as we're talking about it, like, I feel like it could be okay, but I'm not gonna, because I don't agree with some people who are in my religion. So, outside of my religion.
Oh, so
Got a point.
that was a valid point. That was more
valid point.
Our religion,
I would say, like, and in terms of relationships with a guy, I don't know if I would put myself in that situation, because I know I don't want to go through that emotionally, knowing that, like, my family's one way and I'm this way and he's that other way and his family's the other way, and now we're trying to make it make sense. I just don't want neither of us to go through that. But in terms of, like, friends having different religions, I have friends that have different religions, so it's not a problem. It's because we are content with everything that we believe in, that we can openly talk about it and not feel like we're being judged or attacked about the certain thing. And we're trying to understand, and that makes it better for all of us. So in terms of God, no, but in terms of friends, yes.
I would have to say yes. Like, I would, date another religion, because
You have to say that.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, it's not a deal breaker for me, because I feel like I'm already getting a little taste of,
Not a taste.
because sometimes we'll go to church on Saturdays, sometimes we'll go to church on Sundays, and before we were doing both, but that was just too much.
That's a lot. All right.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
But just compromise, and I feel like I'm good at that, so I would do it.
Friendships, we can have friends. You know what I'm saying? But when it goes to when we become one with a relationship, it's one of the things that I'm have to still keep, searching for. Still keep searching for myself of how we gonna move forward to that.
Personally, I just feel like, I never know what God has in store for me. I don't try and guess his plan. So I don't really know. I don't think it would ever be a deal breaker for me, but I mean, God has his plans, and whatever happens is whatever happens. So we'll see.
Well, that wraps up our live recording, right? Correct, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we paid.
Please follow at we.talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And a YouTube channel coming near to you.
Thank y'all so much for coming to watch, the live recording and being supportive. Follow our page, like Mason said, and thank you so much.